a no, no, no for me. Bullying is a weapon of the weak and a shield of the coward. Believe me when I say to you, it is a very terrible thing to do to someone. Well, we have seen with so much this day in the video making rounds on social media about the young girl who bullied her classmates. Like, I don't understand what was going through her mind. Well, she was caught on camera actually red-handed bullying her classmates, and the federal government have come out to say a 7-man panel has been set up to investigate this particular incident. But then, while we await their investigations, we'll talk a little about it here in the studio. Good morning, viewers, and welcome to today's Now Streaming show coming to you live from ACNN TV. I am Promise Njoku Adibe, and I'm not alone to anchor this segment. I have with me, always smiling.
Really? Good morning, viewers. You're welcome to Now Streaming. Good morning, Promise.
Good morning, and that's Rachel Ebunu, by the way. And we have a guest for today in the person of Dr. Sunday Olatunde. He is, let me make sure I get that correctly. He is the clinical pharmacist and a fellow of West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists. Good morning, Dr. Sunday.
Good morning.
It's good to have you come talk to us today again.
Thank you very much.
I remember the last time
you
you
came.
came. Remember the last time you came, we had that discussion on drug abuse.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
we're still going to do part 2 of it.
No problem. I'm always available.
Thank you for joining us. Well, viewers, remember to be a part of this conversation. You can call in using the number on your screen, or you can send us your contributions via our social media handles also showing on your screen. But then let the discussion commence immediately with a very brief review of some newspaper headlines. I'll allow my co-anchor take it up first.
All right, I'll start with the Vanguard newspaper. Above the masthead, CBN slashes BDC exchange rate, that is Bureau exchange rate to 1,036 naira 0.32 a dollar. That story can be found on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. And on page 5, Okwama EU community declares 17 soldiers killed along Forcados River. Says no Okwama villager attacked soldiers. Explains how overzealous soldiers idled wounded elders and leaders. That story is still on and still going in Delta State. It can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And who will ensure Yaya Bello faces trial no matter what it takes? This is coming from the EFCC chair, and the story can be found on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now to the lead story here. Dangote refinery cuts diesel. Jet A1 prices to 940 naira and 980 naira. I have the diesel prices as of February, 1,750 naira per liter. That's February. And March, 1,200 naira per liter. Early April, 1,000 naira per liter. And now it goes for 940 naira to a liter. The kicker there says price cut to impact nation's economy. Coming from Man, will reduce pressure on foreign exchange. It's relief to transport operators. That is a good one, and we hope it comes down more than this. And one thing I noticed these days, you see queues in filling stations. I don't know
what's
happening. Is it that they are hoarding the fuel again?
Or maybe it's panic buying. Nigerians were very good at that.
We do that a lot. Okay, moving on to other stories on page 12. British International School shut over bullying of students. We're coming to that story in the course of our discussion. Murdered professor's last interview. Kidnappers. Terrorists don't deserve mercy. And I agree with that 100%. That story is on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. And the last story I would take here is on sport. NFF board delays appointment of Super Eagles coach. See story on page 37. So over to you, Promise.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Okay, I'm going to be taking the Punch newspaper, and I'll just take one story above the masthead there on Air Nigeria. Sirika goes on trial for 8 billion naira fraud, and that story is on page 30 of the Punch newspaper. I hope he's prosecuted. Actually, the lead story there: EFCC may prosecute 300 forex racketeers. Okay, EFCC gets order to freeze 300 accounts, says one account transacted $15 billion illegally. Naira would have crashed massively if 300 accounts were not frozen. That's coming from the chairman. And that story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. This billion they are calling. Rachel, where is it? Let it get to us now. What happened? We come our own separately.
Just numbers they are calling. This is money.
And we're not talking in Naira, we're talking in dollars. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you have the picture story there, and it's still on the bullying. Rachel read it out earlier, and I said it in my introduction. Abuja school shot, victim may sue. That story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and I don't even know why they are saying victim may sue. It shouldn't be me. She should sue.
She has a lawyer on the ground already.
She should sue.
Case, so
and okay,
take it off from there.
Exactly. Well, viewers, that's where we're going to be taking it on the newspaper review this morning. But before we delve into other topics, we're going to definitely look at that bullying of a thing. Remember, I said it's a no-no for me. Now, let me get the opinion of our guest here. As a parent, I don't know if you saw that video.
I didn't, but I saw the newspaper headlines
and
the pictures.
Okay, a young girl, a secondary school. You need to see the way she was dishing out her hot slaps on her classmate. You know, that was what actually got to me.
The victim was very calm, and
her calmness is on a different level. I don't even know what to call it, whether to call it real upbringing or call it timidity.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
I really don't know. I really don't know what to call it. Okay, so now that is the scenario. Now this is it. She kept, the one on white kept slapping the other girl, and then the other girl didn't react. She kept pushing her up to the wall. She sat down. She kept slapping, enjoying the moment. And then, it went viral. We don't know how come, and we don't know who videoed it. It went viral, and then we later found her coming back to apologize. As far as I'm concerned, that was meeting after death. Coming back to apologize. She's sorry what she did to... okay, so I want to know, as a parent, let's take it from that angle. Your daughter comes back, and you see this video. Please, sir, what would you do?
Thank you very much. Honestly, I wouldn't take it easy, though.
Okay.
You see, bullying is an attitude, and that must have been learned from home.
True.
You see, even as a father, I find it difficult to raise my hand, except when I've been pushed to the wall by my children.
Agree.
Not to talk of beating a fellow man like me. And when you find yourself in the dormitories, in the hostels, and you feel you are superior to the next person, because it comes from the mindset of being superior to the next person. And the other person who also received all this slap and scam, that also came from either a good attitude or an unprovoked submissive attitude that is not expected of anybody. So I feel quite bad about it, because I can't imagine sending my child to school and somebody who did not give birth to that child started bullying, started beating the child of mine.
What right do you have?
Which right do you
what
have?
Right do you have in beating?
By the time I finish with you,
I could see your anger. God. I told you I watched a movie of a boy being bullied in school. He's been swallowing this thing up. And another thing, I guess rightly mentioned, maybe from the home, the upbringing. There are times he want to talk to the mom, but she is rarely available. She will give one excuse to the other. Want to report this is what's happening in school. Please, you need to. But she's okay. We'll talk about this later. And later, something else will come up. And this boy in question had to join other gangs so that he will gather power or gain
yes.
people that will fight for him, and it led to so many things that
It can lead to so
I just
many things.
hope parents, as it is now, listen to your children more. Whatever, no matter how useless
what they're saying
is, there will be sense out of something reasonable will come out of it. You don't just throw away whatever they want to say to you. Please, they should just give a listening ear to their children. And the bullying thing, I don't know where it emanated.
Are you not being bullied by your leaders, Rachel? Are you not being bullied by your leaders, by your politicians?
But children go to school, your fellow student, and you just outrightly bring out your hands. Some use knives, go to school with knives and other things. We have stories from our public schools. We hear of their colleagues being butchered and stuff like that. So, and in the school again, I feel they need to do more. We hear of, I think, the story of when the investigation was going on, some students were saying some of the teachers knew about it.
And when you pay them,
they keep quiet.
Yes, that video has been in circulation too.
This investigation, it needs to be done and thoroughly, because some of these things, at the end of the day, you don't really hear.
Just like we still don't know what happened to Sylvester's case.
Yes, it just died down like that.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Well, viewers, we don't know what your thoughts are. We know you've seen that video, so feel free to call in. The number to call in is showing on your screen, or you can send us your comments via our social media handles showing on your screen. We're not going to dwell much on this because we have a more pressing topic to talk about. So before we go on a short break, I just want to tell you, first, as a parent, like my co-anchor here said, please listen to your children. Parents, we have our works cut out for us. Like, we need to go back to the drawing board. It's not fair when a parent A trains his or her child properly, parent B doesn't train, and then they end up in the same space, and parent B child is bullying parent A child. Parent A, please go and look for a martial arts teacher for your child. Because what that girl did, yes, I commend her. She was so calm as a Christian, you know. She's actually a Muslim, but, you know, she exhibited that attitude of, you know, Christianity when they slap you on the right cheek. Personally, this is my opinion. I don't think I would tolerate that. I will definitely arm my children, learn martial arts. When such happens, report to your class teacher. Okay, so this is the video. You can see it. Just imagine.
I can see.
Just the audacity for me.
Please, sorry, I want to ask, are they in the same class?
It could be senior and junior. I think the one on white, the one doing the slapping is the senior. Oh, okay, I've been told that they are classmates.
To some extent, I was thinking these things have reduced to a barest minimum.
No, it's actually on the increase right now.
It's still going on.
Because if this child was properly, in fact, if she was trained on martial arts, you see the way this one is slapping her, you see she has fear. The only reason why she has the guts to do that because she had cliques behind her, cheering her up. If this girl had given her a slap back, she would not slap her again. Enough if try her. If this girl, when she slapped her the first time, if she had given her a slap, but then that would have been a chaotic.
And one other thing again, I know, yes, she should have maybe retaliated. At times, retaliating back might degenerate into something else. Okay. And
Rachel, after this, I'm going to give you a slap, and I dare you to retaliate.
Now, you might even overpower her.
She's still slapping her, even after she's seated.
What could she have done?
She's still slapping
Whatever
her.
it is that she has done wouldn't warrant you.
Can you imagine? Oh my goodness, this is annoying. Can you people please take this video down? This is annoying. I feel like going into that place and giving this girl a piece of my mind.
I want to believe this girl is intimidated to submission.
I told you.
This girl that is being slapped.
Yes, she is intimidated to submission. See all of these atrocities and activities against her. She dare no mention, even call for help. She's afraid of something about the bully.
And I'm sure if not for the person that recorded this, it would have just died. Nobody would have even known anything outside the school that anything like this happened.
However, Rachel, you cannot exonerate the school and the administration of that.
Agreed.
They must have corroborated this act over a period of time.
Yes,
Because
like I
if
rightly
this-
said, the story, two students were giving their own side of the story. They said this thing has been happening. Some of the teachers know about it. They even, when they pay them off, they keep quiet.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
we're actually supposed to go on a short break, but then the big question arises on social media. I don't know when the girl came, the bully, when she came back to apologize, when she was summoned by the school. We have the minister there, the aunt of the girl who was bullied.
Yes.
You know, to me that she just touched her cheeks. As far as I'm concerned, she just gave her one. And then, no, she just, because if I was the one,
Yes.
I would have panabited her face. In all honesty, that is me. I don't pretend. I would have panabited her face. Now this is her on black.
Yes.
And then the aunt of the girl who she bullied is the one talking to her.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she just, you know, grazed her cheeks a little.
Grace her cheeks a little, you think so?
That was all.
That was all.
Yeah.
And then Nigerians are beginning to behave the
She
Nigerian way. She shouldn't have. She shouldn't have. She shouldn't have.
You know, the provocation.
Two wrongs don't make it right.
Yeah, she was
Are they
provoked to.
Are they kidding me?
To the extreme. That was. In real fact, the thing is, the upbringing right from the home. You can't just leave these children in the hands of the teachers and allow them to train the children. You can't give them what you can't bring whatever it is that is not in them out. It's right. Start from the home. They say charity begins from home.
Well, like
I'm sure they must have been tolerating this at home.
Sometimes they don't even see anything wrong with it.
You just keep a smiling face. I don't do this again, and it ends there. Why not reprimand this child? There's some extent of like punishment you give these people that you know, yes, this is not the right thing to do. Okay, you accept it. They go outside and do worse than that.
Okay, so like I was saying, parents, we have our jobs cut out for us. We need to do better. If we have to go back to that era, which I think is still the best, where a community trains a child. I remember growing up, if I do something wrong, in fact, it's best the community people discipline me than my mom, because when she comes back, it's something. Oh my goodness, they'll come to tell her, I did this A B C D, and then we did it, and then she will now eat. Oh my God. So if we have to go back to that era, please, let's go back to that era, please. And for our children, the youths of these days, I beg you, don't be quiet. If you are being bullied, please speak out. If you speak to your teachers and they don't do anything about it, please speak to your parents. If your parents can't do anything about it, please, I don't know what advice to give to you, Sha, but me,
take matters into
no, me, I will resort to, you know, self-defense. Self-defense is no crime. It is your fundamental human right to defend yourself. So we're going to go on a short break now. When we come back, we're going to be talking about malaria. Don't go away.
Okay, well, good afternoon, my people. My name is Mercy from ACNNTV, and today we dey outside to tell people about malaria, wetin dey cause malaria, and how we fit prevent malaria. First, wetin dey cause malaria na mosquito bite, stagnant water. When you store water keep for one place, e fit cause malaria. And secondly, when you no dey sleep under treated mosquito net, fit still cause you malaria. And make sure say at least try dey fleet your house, or if probably even fumigate the entire house to prevent malaria. Government dey play their own part, so we as individuals make we sef play our own part in preventing malaria. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mercy from ACNNTV.
Okay, my name is Peter. Okay, from my own knowledge, the causes of malaria are parasites. You get one parasite like that, where if mosquito they always carry them. So if mosquito bite you, it is possible for you to get the parasites. So that's what I think causes malaria.
Okay.
Yes, I get malaria all the time, especially when I sleep under net. Awareness program like radio, television, information, tell them about the importance of sleeping under net, and then to disinfect environment against the parasites, like stagnant waters around their houses and all that. Maybe they put something like kerosene or oil so that they'll reduce malaria breeding sites. I advise people make them sleep under nets, under mosquito nets. For those people who live around area where mosquito too much, make them sleep under nets, and then make them fumigate their environment with insecticides once in a while. Like I said, not to reduce malaria breeding sites around my environment, like to ensure say stagnant water no dey, and if stagnant water dey, we will try as much as possible to reduce the breeding of mosquito around, and then to fumigate our environment with insecticides, sleep under nets, and then like me, I dey always take preventive measures against malaria, like anti-malaria. There is this anti-malaria that is you can take to prevent malaria against the malaria. That is before the malaria come. Nobody say you go wait until malaria come. So it is very important make they seek doctor opinion before treatments. Make they go for malaria test to dey sure say na malaria they get, because sometimes malaria symptom they come with other symptoms wey if you be saying another sickness, you go think say na malaria, because some people they always treat malaria all the time, and if you be say the symptom wey they get now no be actually malaria, if it be another thing, so it better make they go see doctor first before treatment.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. So my name is Mercy from ACNNTV.
My name is Vivian. Like the common symptom of malaria, is when you are feeling dizzy, when you feel dizzy and this kind of cold, it's not cold like that. Like majorly, the thing cause malaria is when you have like all these gutters like that, or gutter that doesn't flow, that causes malaria. And actually, malaria never stop. It's still there. Malaria still there, like seriously. So they try, at least all our radio house, they try to talk about malaria. But again, like we as in Nigeria, we still have to come out, they go house by house to help them talk to the people concerning malaria. So waiting to help them prevent malaria, especially for the new coming babies like that. For now, no. Like no. So I still experience malaria.
No change for.
Okay, for myself now, actually, yes, malaria. Anytime I feel like I get malaria, I always feel dizzy. Again, this inner cold like that, I always get that. That's how I know that. And again, this constant headache. Okay, we can prevent malaria by when you notice all these kind of symptoms, you feel like okay, you can complain to any physician, any doctor is there around, or anybody may get idea of hospital stay. From there, you can give you any medication. No, I actually suggest you visit any hospital or pharmacy because of sometimes you can do self-medication whereas you're having typhoid. So, but better for you to go to the hospital for you to know what actually wrong with you.
All right, thank you, my sister. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon.
And my name is Mercy from ACNNTV.
Okay.
So, wetin be your name, ma?
My name is Miss Ojochidirabi Ikani. Things, body pain, joint pain, your body don't dey pain you joint. This na malaria don't dey come be that. For some people, some symptoms in their mouth, vomit, they go dey vomit. Down. Well. Yes.
So
then they try their parts. They try some places, then they provide net for the people. But the thing is, they know they reach some of the village well. But then they try to provide a mosquito net to prevent net, so that to prevent mosquito bites. And to keep our where we stay clean, where we keep our house clean, and we could use mosquito net. I think for me, that be the best prevention for malaria. Oh, I think na im dey cheaper pass. Na im cheap pass. Na wetin you fit afford. If you no get the money, you go near chemist. Abeg, how they feel. The chemist fit give you the drugs wey go relieve you small.
All right, ma. Thank you, ma.
You are welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Mercy from ACNNTV.
Good afternoon. My name is Gift Uteno Lame. Omo abeg o. The question too small, but let me give you small question of the Like malaria, hey God, oh. Like when the malaria come like this, you know, like if mosquito bites you like this, hey God, like the kind of the sickness where you go sick. Not be like my own. If you come like that, they feel headache and they feel like dizzy. I will say they do my own like that. Even me alone, like you know, they easy. Like you can't eat, your mouth will be bitter, and that I used to feel it too.
Okay.
Like yes, they are trying now, but sure, most of them they used to go to a village, inside village. They went to go and cheer mosquito net, all these things. Like they like when you dey for area where you know they good like that, and like that thing. Like you dey eat food, you know they maintain your food. That thing they make you sick. It they make you carry malaria myself. Go take you long, oh. Hey, malaria. Go take you long, wella. Is when that you dey when you dey like this, like go tell people say abeg go see this environment, let us keep it or clean like this. Is when go make wetin dey make us preserve the malaria, that you no go come, and mosquito net we should make sure that mosquito net we use am cover our bed very well. I no dey o, my hand dey up o.
All right, thank you, sister.
You are welcome, my sister.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mercy from ACNNTV.
Okay. The common symptoms that we have is body pain, headache. Sometimes you feel tired. Those are the common symptoms for malaria. Anyway, it is quite unfortunate that so long as you're human, you can be infected by that, and the experience is not sweet because you have sleepless nights, body pains, and so many things that will make you feel uncomfortable within yourself. Even to eat will be a kind of difficult for you to eat. And I think they have all these is it NGO or what are they? I don't know. I think that fight against malaria, and they are trying their best, but more effort should be put in for more sensitization and awareness for people to get to know more about this ailment, on what causes it and how you can be infected with this, especially when it comes to issue of mosquito. Majorly, I think it's one of the major things that causes malaria. So if government should put more effort for more awareness and sensitization, I think we'll have minimal of it. The stagnant water, you don't need to all those store waters in a place. Then if you have a bushy areas also, you can try as much as possible do something about that, because those are the major places that all these the parasites, we like call them, or insects, will perch on, and before you know, they get into the house, feed on your blood, and before 1 or 2, 3, you are gone for malaria. It's a gradual process. If you're treating malaria, it's a gradual process, because once you have malaria, you need to treat it. You have to go to the hospital, and drugs will be prescribed for you. And when you are taking those drugs, try as much as possible to take precautions of whatever can prevent malaria from, at least little awareness being given to you not to store water, get treated mosquito nets and all that. It's possible. No, I won't advise that. I won't tell you to go for self-medication, because all these parasites, you can't really tell if there are other things that also contribute to what they have given to you. But when you go for genuine treatment, proper treatment, it will be better for you, because you know
what and what to do. But taking self-medication is not advisable.
All right, thank you, my sister.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you.
Welcome back. The video we just watched is of the opinion of the public on malaria. Now, that is exactly what we're going to be talking about right now. The mosquito may be small, quite small, but its impact is immense, hugely immense. Malaria is not just a health issue, but a matter of economic development and human dignity. But the big question is it possible to have a world free of malaria today? Can we create a healthier, more equitable world for all? Well, the answers to these questions are a capital YES. Yes. And that can only be achieved if we work together. We all can be free from malaria. Viewers will be looking at the theme for this year's World Malaria Day, which will be celebrated tomorrow, 25th of April 2025. I am still in the studio with my co-anchor Rachel and our guest Dr. Sunday Olatunde, who is a clinical pharmacist. Okay, so he's going to be doing real justice to this topic, and I'm going to be delving quite very fast. Now, we've seen World Malaria Day being celebrated. Now, the big question is, what is this thing called malaria? Because the moment you go to the hospital, malaria. So what exactly is this big sickness called malaria? How is it being contracted? And then, if it's such a big sickness, why is it being celebrated?
Oh.
Okay, so that's 3 in
Yeah,
1.
I like that question. Why is it being celebrated?
Okay, thank you, Promise. And thank you, Rachel, for having me again in the studio. To answer your question, let me come from the background of what malaria is.
Okay.
It's one of the infectious diseases. And when I say infectious diseases, they are diseases that can be contracted or transmitted from one person to another person. So it's one of the infectious diseases that is caused by what we call malaria parasite, Plasmodium falciparum. That's English may be
it's actually too big.
But
Please
let's
break it down.
It is caused by malaria parasite. This Plasmodium falciparum, it is found in sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan, or let me say temperate regions that have their, average environmental temperature a little higher than 20 degrees Celsius, that can support the reproduction of Plasmodia organisms. So this organism, happen in our environment, and it can be taken into the digestive system of a mosquito. And when mosquito, especially the female anopheles mosquito, this mosquito need blood meal to produce egg for reproduction. That blood meal can be the blood of animal or the blood of a human being. In the search for blood meal, mosquito bite human being. And in the course of biting, they can push the malaria parasites in their digestive system into the blood stream of a person. Okay, by the time that happens, the temperature in the body of mosquito is not as high as that of human being. Therefore, it cannot support the reproduction of Plasmodia.
Okay.
Do we understand that now?
Yes.
Now, because it cannot support, so the malaria parasite cannot grow essentially in the body of mosquito. But when it bites a human being, the human being in his blood has a lot of food nutrients. It has oxygen in the blood of a human being. Then the temperature of the body of a human being is about 37 degrees Celsius, which supports the reproductive stage of Plasmodia organism. So that means that through that, the human being contract this particular organism called Plasmodium or Plasmodia organisms. So when that happens,
it takes a lot of process
before it gets when that happens, the individual has got the infection, but the infection may not have translated to a disease condition.
Okay.
That's what we call an inoculation. You have been bitten, you have got the parasite. The parasite will need to develop and grow. Usually, it
inside.
first finds its way into the liver of an individual.
Oh,
When it
wow.
gets into the liver, it grows to a certain extent. When it gets to a certain level of population that it has multiplied itself, it spills into the blood. When it gets into the blood, it finds its way into the red blood cells. And when it grows to some extent, it bursts the red blood cell. So before then, when it gets into the blood, that's when you start having symptoms like chills. The person starts shivering, having temperature,
Feverish.
and having joint aches, and the rest
Pains,
of
yeah.
all of that. Those are symptoms that the patient will see and say, let me go for testing. And now see that, oh, you
Yeah,
have malaria. Malaria is in your blood. That is what malaria is. Because this one has come with a lot of economic implication. Of course, you know that when you have endemic disease states, that's a situation where you have a disease condition that ravage a population of people. You cannot dissociate it from the economy of that particular state. What happens is that people that are not healthy cannot drive a healthy economy.
Not
True.
at all.
So if that is true, it then means that malaria has become a discussion in itself, on a kind of burner for us to discuss. Because if you leave malaria, it's going to cripple any economy. So that is malaria for you and the implication on the economy. So in 2007, the World Health Assembly, which is a kind of like WHO, the World Health Assembly, recognized the effect of malaria on our economy and on the life of individuals. Now say, let's try to have a day set apart where we can drum up awareness about the danger of malaria, how to prevent it, and how to control it or eradicate it completely. That's why that day in 2007 was agreed on that we'll be commemorating the World Malaria Day on April 25th of every year. And the first World Malaria Day was commemorated in 2008. Are we getting that?
Yes.
So that is the background with Malaria Day commemoration. Now let's look at the theme of this year's commemoration. The theme is that accelerating fights against malaria for more equitable world. For more equitable world. Accelerating fight against malaria for more equitable world. This particular theme is chosen in order for us to bring malaria onto the table of a political discourse, so that we can use that to mobilize more resources for malaria prevention and control, and to engage the community, enhancing and empowering the community with requisite education and knowledge for malaria prevention and control. Thank you.
Okay, now that's really awesome. That's really awesome. But then, in all you have said, this big thing called malaria, despite the fact that mosquitoes, like I said,
very tiny,
very tiny. Okay, so you talked about the economy, development, and all that. Malaria really tramples on that. Of course, it's a healthy people that can lead a healthy economy.
Yes.
So I want to now ask, in Nigeria, do we ever see our economy being very healthy with malaria on ground?
It's because the people are not healthy. Like I said, you cannot drive a healthy economy with an unhealthy people. Healthy people are the ones that can drive healthy economy. You see, many times when they roll out, development indices, you will hear of educational, human resource, or human capital development. You will see health indices such as maternal mortality, such as infant mortality, and the rest of all of that. Of course, you know that the maternal mortality we have in Nigeria and the infant mortality we have in Nigeria, the leading cause of those indices is malaria.
But then, is it just mainly pregnant women and infants that this malaria attack? Why doesn't it attack you men? Okay. Why is it always attacking we the females? What happened to us? Why is it so?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very germane question. It's not only children, it's not only infants, pregnant women, and vulnerable groups. Let me quickly say, malaria affects mostly the vulnerable groups. And who are in this bracket of vulnerable groups? We'll be talking of pregnant women. We'll talk of children below 5 years and infants. We'll be talking of displaced persons. That's internally displaced persons. You'll be talking of migrants. People who are migrating through uncontrolled routes, like those who are using road transport to Europe. Okay, those are vulnerable groups. Then those who are displaced by war or natural disasters or humanitarian emergencies, those are vulnerable groups, because at every point in time that a person does not have one requisite education and the person is poor, that kind of person is vulnerable. But together with that is that those who are displaced from their natural homes, for example, if you live here, this is probably your natural home. But if there's a conflict around here and you are in the IDP in the evening today, people in the IDP, some of them don't even have a home. Not to talk of how you net, that's netting of windows and doors.
Mosquitoes.
And not to talk of going to buy insecticide treated mosquito net to prevent malaria. Not to talk of sleeping well, resting well to boost immunity in order for you to stand against malaria parasite infection. Are we getting all of that? So we'll talk of displaced people. You talk of people who are victims of natural disasters. You talk of children. Infants have not developed immunity sufficient enough for them to stand against the invasion of malaria parasites. Children under 5 are so susceptible, and the infant mortality we talked about is in this age group. Then when you take a look at pregnant mothers, you will understand that their immunity is usually suppressed as a result of pregnancy. And because of that, when mosquito bites and malaria parasite is introduced into their system, they do not have a fighting stamina in order to stand against it. And the devastating consequences became pronounced. You now see a situation where either the mother dies, or a situation where there is stillbirth, or a situation where there is premature delivery, or a situation where you have a low birth weight. Have you heard of a low birth weight before? When you give birth to a child underweight. Maybe ordinary underweight child, when at the point of delivery, that shows that something did not develop very well. Either the internal organs, liver, kidney, brain, and all that, as a result of malaria, prolonged malaria that the mother may have contracted during pregnancy.
This is why, Rachel, I leave to you now.
Like, this is scary.
Very.
Like, you talked of the vulnerable people that are prone to this malaria. We talked of the underage from 5 years, the pregnant women, and stuff like that. Now, and considering the theme of this year's celebration, these people rarely see anything to prevent them from contacting this malaria, how to prevent themselves from contacting them, especially those in the IDP camp. We hear of, they share, the government share nets to prevent such. But how far have they gone, and how can this be prevented? We see slums, those that sleep around in the slums, and our women, our mothers, they barely have this facilities to take care of themselves to prevent this thing. How can we, talking about the government, I don't know, we talk about the government coming to, how can we as a person help ourselves first before the government come in to this?
Thank you very much. Also, together with that, I would like us to take the issue of gender, human rights, and equity. What are we talking about when we talk of equity? Here we are not talking of justice. We are talking of equitable distribution of resources that are mobilized, usually mobilized for prevention and for the control of malaria. So let's first center on equity. The two most important arsenal, the most important weapon that you need to prevent and to control malaria spread and transmission is education and resources. So where you have prevailing illiteracy and prevailing poverty, the people there or the victim of such two will be vulnerable. to malaria parasite, infection. And the devastating effect of it, they will be vulnerable to it. And how does that come? You and I are in Abuja. By the grace of God, you are educated. And by the grace of God, you work either for government or for a private entity. Either way, if you work for government, you have been employed by government of Nigeria. If you work for private, you are partly employed by your employer and by government. Why do I say so? The private entity thrives on the amenities that the government provides. One way or the other. If there is no security, the private entity will not thrive. If there is no road, if there is no infrastructure, the private entity will not thrive. Therefore, your job is partly by your employer and by government. So we now see that we see ourselves as a privileged people. But there are a group of people in this same country. One, are not privileged to be educated. What's the impact of education on what we are discussing? This I'm discussing, we are using English as a medium of our expression. And for as many as those who can listen to us from wherever they are all over the world can understand what we are talking about. But we have a group of people who cannot understand this. Probably because of the medium of expression we have chosen, which is English language. But there are still people that even when you go to their community and you are able to translate English to their mother tongue, they will still not be able to understand what it is because of the logic it involves. Look at my first introduction about how malaria comes, how it is transmitted, and all that. Even if I explain that in Yoruba to a Yoruba person, logic is required. Ability to get information, process it, and make sense of it is required to understand that. And if a person cannot understand what it is, how can the person take action to prevent it? That's where education comes into it. Now, when we now talk of poverty, education and poverty, they are Siamese twins. They are together. If you can say somebody is poor because he's not educated, you can as well say somebody is not educated because he's poor. So the two of them, they are difficult. When a person is educated to a certain extent, you don't have to be a professor. A basic education is what we are talking about. Primary to secondary school. If such a person has got a qualitative secondary school education, if I want to explain what malaria is, I will be able to explain it and the person will be able to understand me. Now, basic education enhances or gives opportunity for someone to have self-awareness and self-introspection. Be able to evaluate yourself and know what you can do within your own capacity to make yourself better in terms of whether finances or whatever. To be able to assess implication of a certain thing, a certain concept that is explained to you. For example, malaria. If you have malaria often and your family is ravaged with malaria, the implication of it, somebody that is self-aware will be able to assess that and will be able to take requisite action to prevent that. But if the person cannot be so self-aware and cannot evaluate all of that, then the person will be a victim of what we are talking about. When somebody has basic education, the individual can be employable or trainable for a vocation that the person may want to go into. Trainable or employable. If a person does not have that level of education, the person is already, bracketed out of this discussion. And by that, when you talk of malaria, he doesn't know. When you talk of prevention, he cannot even appreciate what you call prevention. So we talk about education and poverty. And people that are out of that bracket, that cannot access education and are poor, they are more vulnerable than those who have some level of education and are not so poor. And I started with yourself and I, that we are here in Abuja and we have derived some benefit through the intervention of the government of Nigeria. Will you say that opportunity is equitable, since it is not available to everybody? And those that the thing is not available to, they are vulnerable to the ravaging effect of this particular phenomenon, malaria, we are discussing. So that's where equity comes into it. And I say equity is not law. It's not that say, okay, what you give Abuja, you must give them in Abaji. is about what does Abaji need that will make them to prevent malaria, and what does Abuja need. In the case of Abuja, we may need just little, because an average person is developed to the extent that he can weather some certain level of resistance against ravaging effect of malaria on his own. For example, you as a person, one, you have a little understanding of what malaria is. Two, you can afford to go and get education about prevention and implement recommendations that can lead to prevention on your own without calling on federal government, because of what? Education and lack of poverty that we have here. But for those ones here in the same country where we all have equal right to the resources of the country, you see that some people are what they
don't even have access.
They are denied. Yes. They don't have access, and that's where we talk of equitable distribution of resources. But the case of gender, you know, there are some gender practices in Nigeria in which a girl child is discriminated against. Where I grew up from, you may find out that a certain father who has 2 children, a girl child and a boy child, when he has resources to train only one, that's the best of his capacity, he chooses to train the boy. Yeah. And when he trains the boy, he gives the boy education. By that, empowers the boy against the girl child. And when we talk about malaria prevention and malaria eradication and control, what do we 2 things we mention? We mentioned education and poverty. The education that the girl child does not have made her to be poor and then vulnerable to malaria. Oh, and when you go to some part of northern Nigeria, you find a situation where a girl child is given in marriage too early.
Yes.
Age 13, 14, 15. And such girl child is not educated, and by that subjected and banished to poverty. And when that happens, it makes her more also vulnerable to malaria ravaging effect and all that.
I think we wouldn't have time to exhaust all of this, honestly, because this is really eye-opening. But then I remember a question I asked you the last time you came here, where we were not talking of malaria then. Yes. We were talking about war on drugs, and I asked you why is it that in Nigeria, malaria is just everywhere. You go to the hospital, there's no time you go to the hospital and your blood is tested that they will not tell you have malaria. In fact, from the videos we watched, so people kept saying, you know, malaria.
It's a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, it's a reoccurring thing. Every time you go to the hospital, in fact, you finish taking malaria treatment right now, go to the hospital next 2 weeks and they test your blood. There's still malaria there. That is one. Why is it so? Is it that the mosquito bites keep, or is it that the medication we're taking is not up to standard? Why do we have a daily reoccurrence? And then the second question I'm going to ask, is it that the government cannot bring out like a vaccine for every Nigerian to take, and then we know that, okay, for the next 10 years I've taken this vaccine, just like we have for hepatitis. I've taken this vaccine, so for the next 10 years I'm free of malaria. Can't the government do that? Okay, yes. Can we get the response briefly?
Yes,
I've just been told that time.
The government can do that, and the government is working on that.
That's for the vaccine.
Yes, for the vaccines, and it's likely going to be for children 5 years and below to start with, because they are the most vulnerable. Listen, it's not about you. It's about who are the most vulnerable group. Among who do we have most death?
Okay.
What do you want to prevent?
Okay.
Want to prevent death?
Yes.
So it is among those groups that we have most death, and we must start from those ones. They are the ones that have little immunity.
Okay.
So we must start from them. So that's the answer to the vaccine. Vaccine. The second one is why do we always have malaria
even after treating?
Even after treating. Okay. The thing is this: since you are not controlling the mosquito bites, you may be treating, and the mosquito is still biting you.
Oh my God!
You may finish treating tomorrow, another mosquito has bitten you. Together with that is that many of the medicines, what they do is that they convert the organism, that's Plasmodium organism, that is responsible for malaria now, to what they can call hibernating organism, a kind of static. We call it back. A kind of you give medicine. Medicine converts the organism to a form that can no longer cause disease,
Okay.
expecting the body's immunity to
flush
eradicate it, to flush it out. In situations like that, when you go, the test will identify that it is there, but whether it's able to cause disease is another thing. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Yes, I do.
So that's why you always have that positive, positive, positive. Sometimes you see it is 1+, but you know that you are fine. There's nothing, I am not feeling any symptoms, but it's there. It is there because this microscope has identified that it's there. Sometimes the medicine you took has only converted to an inactive, yes, that's the right word, an inactive form of the plasmodium.
So should we be living on anti-malaria
for the rest
of our lives
just
to prevent
that's
this?
why
So then
we
you people
say-
keep telling us excess of these drugs damages our liver, our kidneys.
Okay.
Rachel, we're in between. We don't even know where to head
It's
to.
not as bad as that. At any point in time when you need to use medicine, you weigh benefit and risk.
Oh.
For now, mosquito is right with us. To stop malaria is to stop mosquito. If you can stop mosquito, it will be good for us. We'll be able to stop malaria. But if you cannot stop mosquito, malaria is here with us. The way we can go about it is that vaccination. And we are starting with the children.
Please,
So,
how soon are we starting?
Well, some countries around us have been actually signing papers and all that for them to roll it out. The Federal Ministry of Health will do that in due time. So when that happens, the burden will go down. It does not mean that malaria will no longer exist, but we will be able to have some level of immunity against it from the level of the children, while the adults will cope with the medicine till they roll out vaccination for the adults in shortest possible time. That is about malaria.
Okay, we've run out of time.
Yeah.
Just your last word to sum it all.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity for me to have this discussion. I would like to be advising the general public and the government at this point. For the general public, I would like us to take advantage of education. I would like us to take advantage of education. Education in two ways. Education by trying to let your ward or your children have some basic education, because through basic education you now understand other things in life. I've practiced to a certain extent where I need to teach somebody high blood pressure and the person could not understand what it is.
Oh, wow.
And I change language to the language of the person. He still cannot understand the logic. So that's education. The second education is enlightenment, as we are doing now. We are enlightening the public about malaria. Take advantage of this enlightenment opportunity and take recommendations. Recommendation will be that 1, take adequate rest, adequate sleep, and natural food such as grains, vegetables, and fruit to make you have a stamina, immunity that can resist malaria. That's number 1. Number 2 is that take other measures such as proper netting of the house. It is malaria season again. We don't want to have casualty. About 608,000 deaths was recorded in 2022 alone. So we don't want to have many casualty. Take proper netting of the house, the entrances of the house and the windows. Put nets. Then, if possible, get insecticide treated mosquito nets and sleep under it. Clear the bush around the house. Prevent water being collected, that's stagnant water around your house. Don't have particles and bottles that collect water. It is rainy season, it is malaria season. Sorry, before I go, mosquito breeds where there's moisture, where there's water, and that's why we have more malaria during rainy season. So the public should take that. For the government, malaria treatment, prevention, and control is a fundamental human right, according to 1999 Constitution as amended, because we have right to life. Then we also have right to dignity of human person. And under dignity of human person, we have right to education and right to health care. So malaria should be treated as a fundamental human right for Nigerians, according to what the Constitution has said. So that's my advice to the government.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, I love that part. Malaria should be treated free of charge in all government hospitals, please. Okay.
Is it happening?
I don't know,
Like,
especially the part.
I've learned.
Even where he said where we shouldn't store water. I don't store water, but then imagine those who don't have boreholes in their
Boreholes
place. They go to fetch water.
and
They have to store.
keep
So I don't know how it's happening. Well then, Rachel, time is fast spent. Let me get your last words before we
Yeah, I've
call
learned
it a
a
day.
lot from like it's a whole lot from what the doctor has just trying to explain to us today, and I'm sure our viewers out there have learned a lot too, and we put it into practice and use, and we hope for a free malaria society
Amen.
nation.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunday, for coming to talk to us. We know you are fully loaded. You've not even scratched the surface, but then time is not on our side. Thank you very much. I will definitely call you again for more exposition on all these health topics.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. I want to thank those behind the scene. I have Mr. Godsent, Mr. Peter, Miss Shewa, Mr. Shei, and Miss Mercy. Thank you very much for keeping it up, and everything we've been doing here is courtesy of them. So I want to also thank our viewers out there for allowing us grace your screen. But before I go, I just want to tell you, like he said, let us join forces to create a world where no child dies from a mosquito bite and no family suffers from this preventable disease. Yes, malaria is preventable. Together we can create a world where malaria is a distant memory, not a daily reality. So like I said earlier, thank you for your time. Let's do this again tomorrow morning, same time. But until then, remember to subscribe and follow us on all our social media platforms. We have very educative, inspiring, and interesting programs for you and your family. Have a wonderful day. Bye.